Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk to you about the basics of lighting design so that you can be prepared for the theatre design questions as part of your Eduqas GCSE drama exam. The first thing we'll talk about is the roles in lighting. So within the theatre, you've got a lighting engineer, and that's normally the person associated with the practical aspects of the lighting, making sure everything is working and operating in the way that everyone would like. And then you also have the lighting designer. The lighting designer is more of a creative role where you make decisions about how the lighting can be used on the stage, normally in collaboration with the creative team and the director. In the exam, you're primarily being asked questions that to do with lighting design, so the more creative aspects of the role. In small-scale productions, sometimes these roles are combined and done by one person, whereas in larger-scale productions, then they may have several people working on these different roles at various points in the process. The first thing to discuss is the purpose of lighting. So obviously we want all of our actors to be illuminated on stage, but there's two main reasons why we might use lighting in the theatre. The first is setting. So lighting can indicate what time of day or the location, the place where the scene is taking part. So here we have a scene from West Side Story with Tony and Maria, and we imagine that they're on this balcony at night time because we have this dim blue light in the background giving us the impression that it's later on in the evening, and we have this warm orange light giving us this idea that this is coming from a bedroom as well in the background here. On the right-hand side, we're looking at mood and atmosphere to set the kind of scene as it will. So here we have a production of Sweeney Todd, where the lighting is very much dominated by a red colour, and we imagine that this is a tense scene or that something very dangerous is about to happen, and it gives the audience an idea of what the atmosphere is like in this particular part of the play. Let's discuss the basics of actual lighting then in the theatre. So stage lights are sometimes called lanterns, so you may hear that term used interchangeably. Most lights have bright white bulbs, very powerful bulbs, in order to give enough light to cover the area they are designed to cover. And all lights can be fitted with gels, which are just coloured pieces of plastic. Imagine a bit like a Quality Street wrapper. And these change the colour of the light that is projected. So if you imagine a torch and a Quality Street wrapper, the torch itself is a white bulb, but as it goes through the coloured gel, the piece of plastic, the light that is projected is a different colour. And that's how stage lights work in the theatre. And all lights are attached to a lighting rig, which is just a long metal pole. They can be freestanding or they can be attached to the ceiling where all of the lights are attached. Let's talk about three different kinds of lights that are very commonly used on the stage. So here we have a floodlight, and a floodlight floods the stage with light. They can be quite difficult to control, so it's very difficult to get like specific areas lit with floodlights because it's mainly about just illuminating the whole space. Remember, all three of these lights can be fitted with gels, so you may choose to do a red floodlight as we saw in the previous image, or a blue floodlight to set the atmosphere. But floodlights fill the whole space with light. The second light we'll discuss is a spotlight, hopefully something you're familiar with. So a spotlight is focused on one or two particular characters, and it has a hard edge around the side. So it's a very clearly defined patch of light onto one specific part of the stage to draw the audience's attention or focus into that area. And then we also have a Fresnel light, which has a designated space similar to a spotlight. However, the edge is much softer and can appear quite glowy, which might be a effect that you want for a particular character in the play. A few more lighting effects to discuss then, to give you a bit more language to answer these questions. So we also have strobe lights, hopefully familiar with strobe. Strobe lighting, obviously not great for people who are photosensitive, so you need to make sure that the audience are aware of this before you use it. But strobe lighting have very quick flashing lights, which can almost give the effect of slow motion. It creates quite a jaggedy, harsh atmosphere and can be used really well in scenes that have a lot of action or are very tense. We also have a gobo, where a bit like a gel, it can be fitted onto the front of a stage lantern to produce a particular effect or texture. Gobos can be made from steel or glass, so the actual template itself can be made out of glass or it can be made out of steel. The glass gobos have the advantage of being able to have colour, obviously, on the glass, a bit like a stained glass effect. So you can create really intricate and complicated colours with glass gobos, whereas the steel gobos can have gels attached to create quite simple colour effects. So, for example, this steel gobo here of a tree, you may choose to use a green cell behind it, and obviously all of the area would be lit apart from the stencil of the tree, which would be appearing as a shadow. On the right here, we can see that there's an image of a moon which has been created using a glass gobo. And I'm going to post a link to a video which may be helpful to understand a little bit more about how gobos work. So in summary then, here are the key words which we have been through in this video. We've discussed the difference between a lighting engineer and a lighting designer, and explained that in the exam you're asked to focus more on lighting design and the creative aspects of lighting. We've discussed that lights can also be called lanterns in the theatre, so that you may be familiar with both of those terms. Lights are attached to a big lighting rig that's either freestanding or attached to the ceiling. All lights can have different coloured gels placed in front of them, which change the colour of the light which is projected onto the stage. We've discussed 4 different kinds of lights: floodlights, which fill the stage with a wash of colour or a wash of light, plain white light, if you will. Spotlights, which have hard edges. Fresnels, which have soft, glowy edges. Strobe lighting, which flashes very, very quickly. And gobos, which can be attached to lanterns in order to create different textures. Here I've got some links below in the description for some resources that you can use to learn a bit more. So we have a video on YouTube explaining a little bit more how gobos work, and then also a Quizlet activity where you can learn, test yourself, or play maths in order to improve your language associated with theatre lighting. Hope that was helpful. Thank you very much for watching.